Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. What a game and what a day. First of all, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like and share. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. In today's edition, of course, we will be talking about Tottenham's dramatic win at the Vitality Stadium, beating Bournemouth 3-2 after being 2-0 down. Apologies for my voice. I had a sore throat before the game, and it's even worse now because I was shouting when things were not going great and shouting, of course, when things were going great, and we got that winning goal. Now, Bournemouth went 2-0 up in the game. Spurs showed hunger in that second half and scored 3 goals from Sessegnon, Davis and Bentancur. Spurs remain third in the Premier League table. And we now have a cup final to play on Tuesday. Antonio Conte's words, not mine. Now, we have 3 very special guests with us this evening to talk about the game. We've got channel regular Melvin back with us all the way from Malta. Melvin, how are you?
I'm good, Chris. Happy to be on after a victory. I famously had a poor streak on this channel and finally, bury the hatchet. It's a good day and excited to have a chat. It's been a while and hopefully the momentum carries on into the Champions League. We had a crazy VAR decision the other day, and I think the bit of the excitement this season is died a little bit, and we needed a result like this, to kick off again, and I'm excited again, and hopefully we get Richarlison and Kulusevski back soon, and we move on. But I'm buzzing with today's result, and we needed those 3 points, especially away from home, which we have a little bit of a poor record going on. And I think the players and Conte needed that, a bit of a lift, and looking forward to talking and hearing what Craig and Emmett have to say as well. So,
well, we've also got channel regular Craig Dearman back with us. Craig, how are you?
I'm all right. God, this club, what does it do to you? Seriously, you should not watch this club if you've got a heart condition. I swear to God. I mean, it was frustrating, wasn't it?
At least we're all smiling, Craig. That is the thing. We're all smiling. We've also got Emmett Golden back with us, of course, ESPN radio host, all the way from America. Emmett, how are you?
I'm a lot better now than I was 2 hours ago, for sure. So, got a big 3 points, and my Saturday here in America will be much better after Spurs got the W.
Absolutely. Well, Emmett, let's start the show with you. Give me your thoughts on today's game before we get into team lineups and the incidents. Give me your overall thoughts on today's match, because going 2-0 down, coming back, getting 3 goals, 3 vital points in the Premier League, and we're all smiling again.
Well, it was 2 different games almost. In the first half, you look and you go, more of the same, right? More of where we got excited, we're ready to, let this team show us the quality that they have, and we get all excited, and next thing you know, boom, you're down 1-0. And then you're like, okay, maybe they'll bounce back, boom, 2-0. And now you're like, okay, my day is shot, and you're upset. But obviously Conte made some changes, in the second half, and I think that's what worked. I hate that he had to do that, because I would have loved for a few of those guys to get the entire day off. But they weren't able to. But ultimately, the result is the only thing that matters. And they got got a big 3 points here so that we don't fall in the table, because we went from looking at the guys above us going, okay, we're right there, we can catch up, to, we got to look behind us, because, some other teams have made some ground up.
Melvin, let's come to you and get your thoughts. Now, Lee Smith writes here, terrible 60 minutes. How did you see that first half?
The second I looked at the starting lineup, I just thought, we're not winning this. We're just not winning this. There is no leadership in the lineup. The only real players that I could really trust were Højbjerg and Kane and a little bit of Son. But, when you see the lineup, you think Skip, he's a young, talented lad, but he's still, he's still relatively inexperienced in the Premier League. Bissouma still starting to find his feet, playing for Conte, playing Conte's system. And on top of that, some of the players are either like Emerson, he's not in best form. I think since the North London derby, he's not really played well. Where prior to that, he was a bit solid defensively, but even the formation and all of that, the first half, the first 60 minutes, it just lacked leadership or a real identity where the team was going, how we were playing. We had, I think, 1 or 2 shots on target later in the first half. I don't know. It just seemed, even Conte seemed a bit down, a bit of a weird reaction when we scored the third. It's like he was angry and disappointed, either in the team or himself. It's a weird situation, a weird game. I'm buzzing with the result. It's not really what I expected.
There's frustration
of Conte in this part of the season. Yeah, it's very frustrating, but it's also a bit unlucky because we've been playing twice a week and Bournemouth were rested. These players had a tough European match, and we've been playing like this twice a week for about a month now. And obviously there's fatigue, there's injuries, and you have to rest players. I think if we won against Sporting, I think we would have played our best 11 today. We wouldn't have to rest Bentancur and Dyer, who was solid when he came on. And it's these types of decisions that kind of threw the first 60 minutes off when we put on the substitutions, and then I think it looked more like the real Spurs.
Craig, just before I come to you, I'm just going to have a look at the match stats here. Spurs had 69% possession to Bournemouth's 31%. We had an incredible 23 shots to Bournemouth 6. We had 7 shots on target to Bournemouth 4. Corners, we had 19 corners in that 95 minutes played. 2 for Bournemouth, and fouls, Bournemouth 10, Tottenham 5. Craig, what did you make of today's game?
It was a funny one again, because I totally agree with what Melvin said. That starting lineup, I was not enamoured with that at all. I couldn't see where any creativity was coming from. And again, it was a lethargic, really hard watch first half. Again, I thought when Bournemouth went 1-0 up, we just didn't seem to have any penetration or anything. Slow, everything was slow. And for me, the game did change around the 60-minute mark, because Bentancur come on, and I thought he was the best player on the pitch. Emerson and Sanchez just don't do anything for me. I personally don't think they're even good backups anymore. I'm just kind of done with them. But it goes to prove, once you have 2 decent wing backs who actually want to get forward and cross the ball, that's when everything changes, and Conte's system is proved to work to a degree. But when you take away 50% of that ability to cross the ball and get forward and be in the positions that a wing back should be in, then you're kind of going to suffer throughout the team. And for me, that is one of the biggest things. That is where we're going wrong a lot of the time this year. And next season, I know that's not what fans want to hear, but next season, I'm hoping we can have something like Spence and Udogie on each flank, and I think we'll be flying. And I think the system would really kick into gear. But Conte's got to go with what we've got at the moment. I think he would have loved to have rested more players, and I think he rested as many as he possibly could do, but had to bring on the players that have been regularly starting to kind of prove that the ones that came in for them just aren't quite at the races yet. And we did look so much better when Bentancur came on and he was in the middle there. So yeah, a bit of a mixed emotions, because I was kind of ready to come on here after 20 minutes to go, half hour to go, thinking this was going to be a really slagging the team off. What are we doing again? But kind of that flipped in the last half hour, and obviously we're talking about a win, but I'm really not impressed with that first half performance, and I think it kind of papers over the cracks again. It would have been better, obviously, as Melvin said, had we won during the week, and he would have perhaps put other players out and given rest to people. But it makes you wonder how that game would have gone today if he'd done that. So I think there's a lot to cover off in this pod, to be honest with you, about Spurs frailties, because I wouldn't say we got lucky today. I think the second half display, I think we're more than good enough for the win. But we should have had that one in the first half against a team like Bournemouth, with the greatest respect to Bournemouth.
Emma, let's come to you. Now, David writes here, so happy with the points, but something needs to be done about these first half performances. This is exactly what I was going to come on to. So thanks for that, David. Emma, why do you think that Spurs seem to be so slow in the first half? It seems to be happening week in, week out this season so far. We don't seem to have got out of first gear. Today, it is frustrating. Although I'm extremely happy and pleased with the 3 points today, we seem to make it so hard for ourselves. Why?
It seems like there's no sense of urgency. The game starts and it's like, all right, let's fill it out. Let's let the game come to us. And before you know it, you're down a goal, and then the clock starts ticking. So, I would assume that Conte is someone who can fire up a club and get these guys going, because when they come out, they just don't start, with a place with any type of passion or fire. It seems like they have to get their backs against the wall to really get on the front foot and really get after it. And they have that sense of urgency. Once they get down, they got to figure out a way to fix that, because you got to come out, with just more attacking, more pace, and don't let the game come to you. Go take the game. And we haven't seen Spurs do that in a long time.
Melvin, let's come to you. I'd like to ask the same question. Why you think Spurs are so slow, in these first half performances? Because we know that we can do it. We know that we can put shift in. We saw today we can create a number of chances. What is it with these first half performances?
I really don't know, to be honest. From things I've noticed over this season is that we do play well at the end of the game for some reason. It's like the fitness levels are so high and the intensity is so high. I think some teams at the end, the last 15, 20 minutes, they get tired, and Spurs just keep going and going and going. Bentancur, Højbjerg, Son, Kane, and Richarlison, Kulusevski, all these players running at you for 90 minutes. I think there's tons of energy on the pitch. It just seems to be, it's like we have to wait for them to attack us. It's like this kind of like what Jose used to do, but we don't want to play that style of football. But it's like we always have to react, not be the one that instigate the first goal or attack. It's like we should be going at these teams and trying to do something early in the game, trying to get the first goal. I don't think Conte sets up for these things to happen. I think it's like there's a bit of lack of motivation right now. I think the team is a bit down. I think there could be some players thinking about the World Cup as well. I think that has to play on some players' minds. I think some of them might fear injury if they overexert their bodies because they're playing twice a week at this very, very high level. And our starting 11, most of them are full internationals. We saw what happened to Richarlison, and he was gutted, and he thought he was out of the World Cup. I'm pretty sure, Kane is England captain, so he has to think, listen, I don't want to, pull something or have a massive injury that will take me out of this tournament. So they're probably not playing, to 100% and leaving it all on the pitch. I feel they're a bit reserved, and maybe they coast a little bit. And when in the Premier League, when you're not playing at 100%, if your level drops by 5-10%, you're gonna get found out. And it's a game of extremely fine margins. And if you're not at 100% all the time, I think look what happened. We conceded 2 goals to Bournemouth, and that's honestly how I feel about the situation right now.
Craig, do you think it's anything to do with fatigue? Because Antonio Conte in his press conference recently mentioned that word fatigue a number of times about players. And we've seen the stats in the last couple of weeks of how many games and how many minutes some of these players, like Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, for instance, they have been playing virtually every minute of the Premier League season and the Champions League season so far. Is it down to tiredness, some of these first half performances?
Could be, but then again, we tend to come strong in the second half, and those players are still on the pitch. So, surely for me, you'd want to go out, get the game won, and then take the players off, and you can have your rest. So, it's kind of a bit of a weird one there. But I get it. I do get it. People have got the World Cup in the back of their minds. I'm sure Conte would love to rotate the squad more, but he just obviously for some reason can't trust, well, we know what the reasons are, can't trust the players that are on the bench or in the squad. So he's got this core group of 15, 16 players that he only trusts, out of the 20 odd members of the squad. So when you're dealing in those kind of numbers, it's difficult to rotate, I guess, because we just look so much more solid at the back and better going forward when he made those changes today. But one of the likes of Bentancur, even Brian Gill came on a little cameo again. I thought he was lively. So I'm sure he would have liked to have started him from the start, but perhaps he doesn't think he's ready to start. But for me, it's a difficult one against Forest, which I know is a couple of games away, but that game, I'm sure he'd love to have been in a position where he can give some big players a rest for the whole game. But we'll see. But we've got two big games coming up now, Marseille and Liverpool. So what do you do? What is Conte going to do? That's the key thing, isn't it?
Another massive week, exactly. A comment on screen now. Let's talk about the starting 11. Comment on screen. I think the state of that starting lineup explains why Antonio Conte has been setting up the way he has. He'd rather play with less intensity and reuse our starting 11. To be honest, I don't blame him. Craig, let's stay with you. Let's talk about Tottenham's starting 11 because Antonio Conte made 6 changes today. Lloris in goal, the back three of Sanchez, Lenglet and Davis, the wing backs Emerson Royal and Sessegnon. And then in midfield, Højbjerg, Basuma and Skip. And then the front two, Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. Subs today, Forster, Doherty, Tanganga, Spence, Dyer, Perisic, Bentancur, Brian Hill and Lucas Moura. The 6 changes to the team that drew 1-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the Champions League on Wednesday. Royal in for Doherty, Sessegnon in for Perisic, Lenglet in for Dyer, Sanchez in for Romero, Basuma in for Bentancur, Skip in for Lucas. Craig, how did you feel when you saw that starting 11?
As I said before, I was not confident going into this game when I saw that starting 11 because I just couldn't see us getting anything, to be honest, out of the game. Yeah, Chelsea did lose. Yeah, so that is good. And this is an important win. It does give us that little gap because look where we would have been had we lost. So it is an important win, but it's one we made a lot more difficult than we should have done. The starting 11. I personally, people who watch this channel regularly will know my opinions on Emerson Royal. I've had people say that get off his back and he's not that bad. I'm sorry, I'm kind of at a point now where I don't really want to see him play again, and there's nothing against Royal as a person. I just don't think he's good enough, and he's been asked to play in a role that he simply can't get, and I'm sure he'd make a very good right back, but in this system he's not doing it. Sanchez just looks nervous every time he's on the ball. He's due a ricket every game. You kind of know what you're going to get with him. He makes me nervous. So what he does to the defenders around him that are his own teammates, that must, it must affect them. I'm sorry, as much as they would never ever say on camera, that must affect them. So, and the creativity, as I said before, you only get 50% when Sessegnon's on the pitch because Royal's just doesn't play the role as he should. So wasn't enthralled by that starting 11, should I say, Chris? No, but I'm guessing he tried to rest a few players and proved that he kind of can't, can he?
Emma, how did you feel about that starting 11? Because, of course, Antonio Conte said in his press conference, we want to win at Bournemouth on Saturday, but I don't want to take risks as we have to win a final on Tuesday in the Champions League. 6 changes today from Conte. Were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised, and I'm somewhat of an optimist, optimistic person, and I looked at it as opportunity. I said, okay, yep. Basuma, Skip, here you go. Like, this is your opportunity to, get out there and show your quality, and maybe you'll get, more minutes and more playing time. So I was excited to see what these guys were able to do. And then you start to understand, why they aren't, getting the minutes that you think you would see them get a little bit more. To Craig's point with Emerson, I root for Emerson hard. I want to see him perform well. But he's what we call in America a jag, just a guy. He's a football player that deserves to be in the league, but just not special, right? Not someone that's going to come in and have a huge effect on the game. So I do think that's a spot that when the transfer window opens, that maybe they should take a look at. But I wasn't surprised. I felt like this was an opportunity for them to get some of their regulars some rest, and I was just hoping that Skip and Basuma would be able to take advantage of it, and they didn't really do it today.
Emma, what do you think of the wing backs? This is a subject that comes up every single week when we record these shows. Emerson Royale and Ryan Sessegnon. Are they the best wing backs we've got? Because Antonio Conte seems to favour these two a lot.
I really want to see Jed Spence. I'll tell you that much. I feel like I haven't seen him, so I can't answer that question. I mean, Perisic, I think, is the best wing back on the team, and maybe Ryan is after that. But I like that they play with wing backs and not have like a four, a back line of four. So I like that they have guys that do get up, they just don't finish. You get into that deep third and you feel like you have an opportunity, and a lot of times those guys just don't get the ball into the box, or they turn it over. And it can be frustrating because look, you had two amazing scorers in Son and Kane, two of the best players in the entire world. Get the ball to them, get the ball in the air, get them in the box. And it seems like our wing backs have a difficult time doing that, at least consistently anyway.
Melvin, let's come to you on the starting 11. Were you surprised by the back three being Sanchez, Lenglet and Davis? Because as I was walking into the stadium today, I must admit, I bumped into a number of people that I know, and they said, Chris, what on earth do you think of that back three? One person remarked and said, I never ever thought I'd see that back three under Antonio Conte.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't really think about it that much when I was during the day. I didn't think about the game, and then when I saw it, I thought, "Oh shit! I forgot we were resting players. We have to rest players for the game, for the Champions League game, because that's obviously a massive game priority." And then I was thinking, he's going to rest these guys, but we're not going to win them with these guys. There's no way we're going to win. Obviously, it's just the lack of leadership, the lack even Premier League experience. I mean, you're trusting Lenglet and who's quite new to the league. He's a promising defender. I mean, he's experienced in different leagues and playing in the Champions League, but he's playing, with Bournemouth away. I know it's not a massive team, but these types of games, you need experienced players who know the league, who know how tough it is to go to these places and get a result. And it showed because, Sanchez, he's hit or miss a lot. He can have a really good game like he did last season when he came in the last 3 games of the season. He played extremely well, and we kept clean sheets, and he was vital in the Arsenal victory and the Burnley, I believe, and even the Norwich game. He played well in those games, but then he has a couple of games where he comes in and he just he's like a headless chicken sometimes, and it's like he's coming at an age where Sanchez, it's like you either have to start becoming more consistent as a defender, as a 45 million defender we paid for him. You have to become a proper defender now, or we have to move these guys on. Conte has to draw a line, and we can't keep relying on these guys anymore. So it's disappointing, and these types of games makes you realize which players we're going to move forward with the club, which players we want to keep, and which players we need to improve on. I think last season, at the end of the season, I thought, we have a brilliant squad for next season. But now we're starting to see gaps and holes that we didn't see before. And the squad depth is lacking. The squad depth, it's I think under Pochettino previously, he used to rotate the team, and we used to get results away. He used to rotate between Danny Rose and I forgot who played on the. He rotated Rose with
Ben Davis.
With Davis, and he used to rotate. He used to rotate Walker with Trippier, and we still get results. And it just seems Conte doesn't have those guys. He doesn't have he doesn't have the players he can rest Bentancur and Højbjerg, and we still get a result. We don't have that depth yet, and until we get that level of depth, and for example, rest Dyer and Romero and win the game, and rest Son and we still win the game. You know, we lost Kulusevski and Romero, and we just completely lost, you know, our momentum. You know, two players who we didn't even have last season, and we completely. It's like we lost direction where we were going. These players were so vital to our attack. It's just their decision making is so good. Kulusevski and even Richarlison. We lost these players, and it's like all of a sudden we lost the momentum and the flow of the team. And until we have that depth, I think Conte is gonna be, you know, a bit cranky and unhappy, and he's gonna be playing these mind games with Levy and Paratici and all these guys. And I think maybe next season, if we have more players, he can rotate and get away with this kind of stuff and get a result. But we had to use the substitutions and bring them on to get the result, and we're not that kind of team yet. And I don't want to be that kind of guy that says, "Oh, sell them, move them all on, they're all rubbish." But because obviously I have a connection to these guys, and I like these players, but I'll leave it to the management to decide which players they want to move on and which players they want to keep. But credit to Sessegnon and Ben Davies today, because they both scored. And if they didn't, and they showed that determination, I don't think we would have won.
Craig, let's come to you. Now, as Emmett said earlier about opportunities, that's exactly my attitude. When new players come in, you know, grab your opportunity, because Oliver Skipp and Yves Bissouma, they haven't started many games this season in any competition. And Bissouma and Skipp today, for you, how do you think their performances were? Because Skipp was taken off at half-time, Bissouma was taken off in the 57th minute, and Antonio Conte, of course, went with a 3-5-2 today.
Yeah, I think cut Skippy a bit of slack. I think he's just coming back from an injury, and you can't even say he's been in and out of the team, because he's literally only played a couple of games, and we all know what a good player he is. So I think Skipp will come good again. I don't know what his plans are during the World Cup. I don't know if there's any other thing that he's going to, if there's a under-21s tournament around the same sort of time. I don't think there is there? There's not a camp or anything like that, is what I mean. So I would imagine he'll still be at the club just trying to get his fitness up. So he'll come good again. Bissouma, I thought he didn't have a terrible game, but for some reason that 3-5-2, the one thing we all wanted to see, is just doesn't seem to be working, does it? Which is really bizarre. So I don't know.
Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it, Craig, or are you a fan of the 3-4-3?
To be honest, I'm a fan of attacking football, and whether that be 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, I don't care. But I just want to see Spurs playing attacking, free-flowing football, and we're just not getting that in large chunks of games at the moment. Now, is it the fact we haven't got the players to do that? If you're playing a 3-5-2, I would argue personally that you are missing an attacking midfielder that's purpose-built for a number 10 role. It's difficult to say, but that's what I want to see, Chris, because he's not necessarily, you know, the three we wanted to see, the Bissouma, Højbjerg and Bentancur, that for whatever reason that didn't work when he played that. So, but for me, a Maddison and Eriksen type player, that would allow that system to work a bit better. But we just don't appear to have that number 10. Well, we do. He's Harry Kane, but we want him up front. So, he's fine lines, isn't it? He's fine lines. If you're playing 3-4-3, as I've said a million times on this channel, the wing backs have got to be doing their job and getting forward. And essentially, you've got a 4 attacking, because the other wing back on the other side comes in at the far post if the other wing back's putting a cross in. Simple as that, and it sounds simple, but we all know it isn't. So yeah. I know that's probably not answered your question, but that's my opinion on it.
No, that's fine. Just before we go through the key match incidents, who would you name as your man of the match? Emmett, let's start with you.
Oh, wow. Man of the match has got to be Bentancur, right? He got the game winner. And it kind of, I guess, changed the weekend for all of us, because even if you get 1 point out of that, you're still not happy. And we might still not be happy even with 3, but we feel a lot better than we would have, if things went the other way. So I got to go with Bentancur as my man of the match.
Emma, let's just stay with you a second, because we've had a few comments in the stream, saying that we've just won the game. Why are you four so miserable?
Right.
Shouldn't we feel happier?
Right. So I have a lot of experience with this. I live in Cleveland, right, Ohio, and I follow the Browns. And if you know anything about that, I've got a lot of experience with that. Listen, I guess we're not as happy as we should because we expect more, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, I'm grateful that they got 3 points. Does it make me feel better about the Champions League match coming up later on this week? Not really. I'm trying to, at least, hoping that this is takes them on and has some momentum. But when you face a side like Bournemouth, and no disrespect to them, Spurs are a better squad. They just are, and they shouldn't be down 2-0 to this team at any point. So I think that's why there's somewhat of a negative tone to the conversation. But through and through, they got 3 points. And I tell my son, who plays American football over here, that, sometimes the best thing in the world is a win where you don't play well, because there's teaching moments in it and it didn't cost you. So hopefully they get experience from this. They see some stuff on tape that they could correct, and they got 3 points, and maybe this can be the start of them gaining some momentum.
Yeah. Melvin, who's your man of the match? I know you've bigged up Ben Davies and Sessegnon already. Are you choosing one of
them? I'll actually give it to the set piece coach, Johnny Vio, because I think without him, we wouldn't have won today. I think, Perisic coming on, he delivered a really good cross for the first goal. You can give it to either one of them, because any of the set pieces goals, they were really, really good. And I think where we've been let down with our passing and stuff like that, we really picked it up this season with set piece goals. I mean, how many did we score this season? I think we're nearly double figures for set piece goals. I think we're near 8 or 9 or 10. And yeah, I think Bentancur has to be man of the match. I think his energy and pressing and has been excellent, and he's very good with his passing. And for such a tall person, he's extremely mobile and agile, and I love watching him play. I try to play like him, but obviously I'm not the quality of him. But you actually learn, if you just focus and watch him, you actually see the brilliance of him, this positioning that he takes. And yeah, I'm a massive fan of him, and he was a brilliant signing that we made in January. And I'll give it to Bentancur, and hopefully, he's not injured or he was just rested, because he's a vital player, and hopefully he continues playing this season along him and Højbjerg, and they've developed a very good partnership, them two, and I think we play better with the 2 rather than the 3, because I think they're too similar in profile of player. I think if you play Bissouma, Bentancur, and Højbjerg, they're pretty much very similar. They all, they're all that ball-winning player, high energy, and they're not really the dribbling and technical and type of player which we need. But yeah, definitely Bentancur. Well, we're very lucky to have him.
Craig, before you give me your answer, I just want to talk a little bit about Bentancur, because I think today really underlines yet again how important he is to this Tottenham Hotspur starting 11.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bentancur's my answer as well, to be honest, because he did change the game when he came on. It gave the whole team a lift. And not just because he scored the goal, but just his presence on the pitch, the way he moves around, the way he moves the ball, his positioning, as Melvin says, it's just a class above. So you got to give him man of the match. But I also agree, Gianni Vio probably should get some plaudits again because of our set pieces. in answer to the question that we're all looking miserable, I get that. I do get that. People are tuned in after a win and they want to see 4 happy faces. But, you know, you've got to admit that first half again wasn't particularly good. And we've got to start sorting this out sooner rather than later. I know that's not going to be easy because of the World Cup break. So this is probably something that's going to be a hangover to January. But, you know, we've got to start looking at that and addressing those issues, because you can't carry on. You can't keep scraping through games like that. You're going to get found out eventually, as we have done, you know, the last 2 previous games there. And yeah, look at that. I mean, we're 5 above Chelsea, but game in hand.
Yeah, so we're 3rd in the Premier League table. We've now played 13, 8 wins, 2 draws, 3 defeats, a goal difference of +10, 26 points. We're now 3 points behind champions Manchester City, who have a game in hand over us. We are 2 points away from our rivals Arsenal. They have only played 11 games. Newcastle are now, they remain 4th. They've got 24 points from 13 matches. It's not a bad position to be in, Emma, is it, at this stage of the season? 3rd, 3 points from top.
No, it's a great place to be. It beats the alternatives. You know, it beats being 10th, 11th, 7th, you know, in the relegation zone. It definitely beats all of that. And that's where you want to be. If you can stay within that top 5, I mean, the goal is, I mean, you want to win the Premier League if you can, but worst case scenario, if you know, punch your ticket to the Champions League again next year, I mean, that's the goal of every Premier League team. So Spurs are in a great situation, and I still haven't seen Spurs at their apex once this year, and they're still in the top 4. So that makes me feel really good. It makes me feel really good. I say if they are able to put this together, well, then maybe they can make a run at the Premier League title, because even the wins that they've had, I think we could all point out places where they could have improved or where it took them a while to get going. If they hit their potential, which I think they will, because this is a long season, there's, you know, a lot of football left. They're in a great place because we haven't seen Tottenham at their best yet.
I completely agree. I'll tell you what, when we get out of first gear, if we are 3 points away from top spot, you know, stuck in first gear, you know, what can we do in the future? It's exciting times ahead, hopefully. Melvin, let's come to you. Let's talk about the key instance in the game. After just 3 minutes, Bournemouth, Moore with a header over the bar, completely unmarked. A minute later, Tavernier with a shot at Hugo Lloris, comfortable for our goalkeeper. After 14 minutes, Bournemouth had another chance. Lerma with a shot went just wide. 17 minutes gone, Tottenham. We had our first chance, Ben Davies with a long-range effort. And then after 22 minutes, Bournemouth went 1-0 up. A good break from Bournemouth, eventually finished by Moore. What did you make of that goal that we conceded after 22 minutes, Melvin?
It's strange because we started this season being very compact and tight. And there was like a little thing that Conte did with Owen Hargreaves for BT. And he was saying how he wants his striker and the goalkeeper to be like 30 meters apart. And this season, when we started playing 3 in the middle, all of a sudden they're like very wide, pressing with no real intent to win the ball. It's like, that's why I feel we're conceding these goals. It's just before, earlier in the season, we were a lot more, you know, we kept our shape. We were very compact, very hard and difficult to break down. And we didn't let teams, we let them have the ball, but we didn't let them do anything with the ball. It was like calculated. Yes, it was a bit boring to watch, but it was very much, you know, we'll let you have it, but you won't do anything with it, sort of thing. And then when we had the injuries to Kulusevski and Richie, we had to pretty much change our system. And I don't think it suits the current players that we have, the defenders that we have. And I'm talking about our best 11, let alone playing Sanchez and Linglet and Davis. So I think Sanchez was a bit left, you know, in no man's land, and he didn't know if he should have pressed or cut the passing lane. I think he shouldn't have run in the way he did. I think he should have just, you know, tracked the defender and make sure he was between the ball and the striker, and he would have, you know, prevented the goal. It just, sometimes he does things that I think he doesn't do the basics right. He does these crazy wild runs and tackles, brilliant, but the simple defending, he doesn't do them, and it's class. I think it's things you cannot teach, and it's things that you don't learn on the training field. I think you learn these basics when you were young, and it's just, to me, when I saw that goal go in, I was like, what are you doing? Why did you not stay between the defender, between the two strikers, and just cut out the pass? I think it could have been a goal that would have been prevented if you had, for example, Romero or Dyer or a higher quality defender. It's just really frustrating and a bit foolish, if I may say.
Yeah. Craig, let's come to you. Now, the first goal went in after 22 minutes, as I've just said. 3 minutes later, Moore had another chance. His effort went just wide. 2 minutes later, Davies was dispossessed. Bournemouth were on the attack again. It just seemed one-way traffic at that point, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. They were hitting us at our own game. In essence, they were hitting us on the counter. And that was a great goal, their first goal. I thought that was really well worked, to be honest. But, you know, we're our own worst enemies again there. And that is what I was talking about. That you know, we shouldn't be allowing that to happen. You could argue if we'd played with our normal defence, then perhaps that wouldn't have happened. Because personally, I know Dyer gets a lot of stick, but I think Dyer's had a pretty good season if you take the whole season, you know, as a whole. And you know, I thought he's had games where he's commanded at the back, and Melvin talks about leaders. There was a fair bit of camera on Dyer when he came on, and he's always got his mouth open, always shouting, telling players where to go, and that's what you kind of need. And you're right, we didn't have any leadership in that back line. We did have Ben Davies. We know he talks a bit, but that you know, domineering centre back. And we all know Eric Dyer's not the best centre back in the world, but I don't think he's had a bad season. I think he's a half decent player. Not saying we can do better, but I think, you know, at worst, Eric Dyer would be not a bad backup central defender if we can get a real superstar in. But that defence needs work. And I personally think if we get that back three right, once Romero's back, and you know, we get somebody like a Bastoni or something like that, that defence is going to start looking a lot more solid.
What do you think of Clement Lenglet today, Craig?
I didn't think he had his best game, to be honest. Didn't really impress me. He was in the middle of the three, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Longley? Yeah, it wasn't Davies. Yeah, I mean, he did a job, but you know, it wasn't his best game, was it? Let's face it. He's much better on the left. I think that's proved that today.
Now, after 33 minutes, Hugo Lloris had to rush out of the area to clear another Bournemouth attack. 3 minutes later, Tottenham had their best chance of up until the 36th minute. Good chance for Spurs. Emerson to skip, who shot, saved by the goalkeeper. A minute later, Harry Kane put in a good cross. No one there, and it was cleared away. And then in the 40th minute, Emerson Royale, he took a shot. It went over the bar. It actually went over the stand. It went out of the stadium. It actually went into the car park. Our fans then sang, what the FNL was that? And some fans even said, we want Jed Spence on. I even heard a fan say, change Emerson Royale and put Fraser Forster at right wing back. He'd be a better option. Now, Emma, I'm not going to go to Craig on this because I know Craig's opinion on Emerson Royale already. Emma, is Emerson Royale good enough to play for Spurs? Because I might be joking a little bit about this. I'm very frustrated because I think if you asked a professional footballer, a right wing back, to cross a ball, and so many fans today were frustrated with Emerson Royale. He had the ball sometimes in so much space, so much time, and he failed to deliver a decent cross. What are you making of Emerson Royale, and what does Antonio Conte see in Emerson Royale to keep picking him week in, week out?
I don't know. I don't know what he sees, in Emerson. I root for all these guys. I don't want to see anybody struggle for obvious reasons. It just doesn't help the squad. But yeah, it's a place where you go. They need to upgrade that area. They just do, because when Emerson kicked him, as I saw him winding up, I yelled some expletives. Right, my wife got a good laugh out of it. I won't say what I said here, but like, what the heck is wrong? Like, why are you even taking that shot? Get the ball to the guys that should be, taking a volley or doing things like that. So it's frustrating, and I don't know why Conte continues to go back to Emerson. I feel like Conte likes guys with experience, and maybe Emerson is, played so many games, he's just comfortable with having him there until he trusts someone else, or maybe some of the younger guys. But, that's the big time question, because I'm not sure why he keeps running them out there.
I can confirm my car is absolutely fine. So it wasn't my car he hit. Thank God. Now, just before halftime, Heung-min Son had a shot. Travers saved it. Of course, halftime score was 1-0. Melvin, how did you feel when Oliver Skipp went off and Lucas Moura came on at halftime?
Yeah, I was happy he reacted instantly and did a change at half. He's Conte, not fans. Some fans used to say that, oh, he's stubborn and he'll stay with the same players until the 60th, 70th minute. And yeah, I was just happy to see him, react instantly and recognize that, we weren't going to score with Skipp on. He needed someone more attacking, someone with more pace, which Lucas, I was happy to see either Lucas or Brian Hill come on. I think Hill was, very lively at the Champions League game, and either of them would have done a better job than Skipp. So I was happy to see him come on. Did he have the best game? Yeah, he won a couple of fouls and he was effective, but he's still not. He's still not Kulusevski, is he? We're still waiting for Kulusevski to come back, sadly. But hopefully when he returns. But I'm happy to see him play and get some minutes and fitness, because we're going to need him, to play a vital part until Kulusevski or Richarlison is back.
Melvin, can I just ask you on Emerson Royale, and do you think it's unfair at the moment that Jed Spence is not getting a chance?
I think Conte probably sees Jed Spence as a championship player. I think he came from the championship, and I think to break into the Premier League, there's going to be a learning curve. Just look at Sessegnon. It took Sessegnon quite a long time to adapt and become the player. He's still not the finished article either, Sessegnon, even though he scored and had an okay game. He's still not the finished article. Last season, he had a patchy season, and he was, Conte said he likes him and he and thinks there's a player in there, and gave him a boost of confidence. And I think with Spence, we have to wait. If we send him on loan, it will probably do him well. If he goes to a Premier League club, probably best for him. Ideally, I'd like to see him play for us to get more minutes. I think he's rapid, and I think we need that kind of player. You saw the right back for Bournemouth, Tavernier. I think he was excellent, and he had the pace, and he was causing us trouble. And I think we're missing that from our wing backs, to have raw pace that every single defender from the other team will be worried about that player, be thinking about. In their mind, they have to be wary of Son, Kane, Kulusevski, and then Jet Spence is going to be running in. So I think he can cause problems. Does Conte trust him to play in the big matches, to play against, Liverpool, City? He doesn't have to, I think, play him in those games. I think today he could have played him. He could have gave him minutes, but I think he's waiting for maybe a League Cup or an FA Cup for him to give him a proper 90 minutes, something like that. I think if we would have won against, Sporting, I think he would have played in the Champions League. I honestly think he would have started him, because it's the type of game where he's like, okay, now I can have a bit more freedom, a bit more, it's not a high risk game. I think it's that sort of scenario.
Yeah, I know. A lot of fans are expecting him to play in the Nottingham Forest game in the League Cup in a couple of weeks' time. Craig, let's come to you in the 48th minute. Ben Davies with a shot just outside the box, went wide, and then a minute later, Bournemouth went 2-0 up across from the right-hand side. Moore was there again to finish off. How are you feeling by that point? 2-0.
Honestly, thought we ain't getting back into this. There's some games where you think, okay, Spurs are going to turn it on here and get back into this. At that very point, I thought the game's gone. I think it was Emerson he beat at the back post, and then I think Emerson trips up Sanchez as he falls to the floor, and they were both just laying on the floor, and that was kind of it for me. I thought, yep, that's our two right-sided defenders. He shouldn't have. He far too easy-headed for a centre forward. He was hardly challenged for it. So I actually walked out into the garden. I thought I'm not even going to bother coming and watch the rest of it. But of course you do, don't you? And that is when we kind of just, decided to go up through the gears, wasn't it? Why have we got to go 2-0 down before we even do that? I know we did a little bit before then, but it was kind of, oh, right, we got to do something about this now, or else we're going to lose this. And then when we got the first one, that's when I thought, we're actually going to go on and win this. But yeah, it happens all too often, doesn't it? And why can't we start that way? Why just can't we start that way? Because, this Marseille game, wouldn't that be lovely to get that one early? But I can't see us doing it, which is a sad thing.
Well, I'll say to the viewers and listeners now, it's about to get positive because we're about to talk about Tottenham's 3 goals. So let's do it. Emma, let's come to you. Now, in the 51st minute, Højbjerg had a shot, went just wide. And in the 57th minute, assisted by Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, a lovely ball to Ryan Sessegnon, who then went on with a good finish, getting a goal back for Spurs. That's what we want to see more of Ryan Sessegnon, isn't it? Scoring goals, finishing like that.
No doubt about it. And you see how different of a squad they are when he is able to be effective. I think a lot of times, and I understand it, when you have 2 players, the quality of Kane and Son, it's kind of easy to feel like, okay, we just got to wait for them to do something. And I think that might even have something to do with the way or reason that they start pretty slow. But when you have a guy like Sessegnon able to get in the back of the net, I knew right away at that point, I was like, all right, it's a ball game now, because I think Bournemouth knew, all right, we're a little over our skis right here. We're playing a little bit higher than maybe we expected of ourselves. And then once, Sessegnon was able to score that goal, you can see the look on the Cherry's face, right? Like, all right, did we just give them life? And they did. So that was a huge, huge goal by Ryan.
It's interesting because straight away, Sanchez and Basuma came off and Dyer and Bentancur came on. It looked like Sessegnon was actually going to come off as well, and Perisic was coming on. But Conte told Perisic to go and sit down for the time being. Melvin, let's come to you. In the 63rd minute, Antonio Conte made another sub. Emerson off, Perisic on. Now, there were cheers. There were cheers from the Tottenham away end, and I hate digging players out, but I've got to mention exactly what I witnessed and heard inside the stadium. Fans were cheering that Emerson Royale went off, and there were a number of very, how should I put it, horrible comments about our right wing back. How are you feeling about him, and when do you think Antonio Conte will probably favour Matt Doherty or Jed Spence or someone else?
I think Conte's system, relies on the wing backs. It's pretty clear. How many goals and how many assists does he have? Does he have 1? At some point they're gonna, be sitting at Hosper Way and talking. Listen, this guy doesn't have 1 goal, 1 assist, and we're halfway through the season. We're gonna need to upgrade. We're gonna need to look at our bench, or it's just he plays him because he's solid at the back. He's probably the best defender out of the 3, and Doherty needs to come in just to rest, I guess, Emerson. And happy Doherty came in because since then we looked more lively and and more likely to score from the right-hand side through Doherty than Emerson. We don't look dangerous at any moment in the game from that side. And every time he gets the ball and he tries to cross one in, I just think nothing's going to happen from this. The best thing he can do is get a corner. Simple as that. That's the best case scenario. I feel every time he gets the ball, even Kane and maybe Son, they don't believe that they're going to receive the ball when it goes to him. So why make the run? It's like that sort of thing. You know, you're not going to get the ball when it goes to him. I think when Perisic gets the ball on the other side, I think all of a sudden, he's going to deliver a cross or something. There's more quality in his delivery. I'm comparing Perisic. For example, there's more quality in his crossing and his passing, his decision making as well. I mean, to do a no-look pass in the Champions League when we need to win the game, to do these kind of things, it's like you have to take these things more seriously. It's like you're playing for Tottenham Hotspur, a massive club in England. You can't be doing these things. It's like, and he does these weird videos now, which are getting on my nerves on Twitter. It's like he used to be this like cult hero in the last season, and now it's like he's this villain all of a sudden. Listen, I'll support the player, I'll support everyone who puts on the shirt, but at some point, there needs to be this discussion, and do we cut our losses with him next season? Do we start to play someone who's going to be here more in the long term with Jet Spence? And I feel if we keep playing Emerson, it's just to get the results right now. And I think Conte is all about the now, and we have to get the points today. We have to win today. And I think Spence, as much as I think Spence one day will be much better than Emerson, I don't think he's ready. And to get the 3 points today, Emerson is better than Spence and better than Doherty. I think defensively he's more solid, and that's why he keeps picking him, because today he's gonna get me the 3 points. That's probably what Conte is thinking.
Craig, let's come to you. In the 67th minute, Sessegnon was on the attack again. His cross was blocked. A couple of minutes later, Heung-min Son with a cross saved by Travers this time. In the 71st minute, Harry Kane had a header. He put it just wide after a Sessegnon cross. And then in the 73rd minute, Spurs equalised 2-2 with a goal from Ben Davies after an excellent cross or corner from Ivan Perisic. I'll tell you what, Ivan Perisic on a corner, he is lethal, isn't he?
Yeah, he does put a good ball in. Does anybody actually know if he's right or left-footed?
Both.
Because I genuinely don't know what his natural foot is, which is incredible, really. And in my opinion, every professional footballer,
more footballers should be that way.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Every footballer should be like that. You know, likes of, Glenn Hoddle back in the day. He could use both. Harry Kane can, Sonny can, De Bruyne can.
Son.
It's incredible to me. That's the one thing that I've always thought. Actually, regardless of how much you're paid, it shouldn't actually matter. You're a professional athlete. You're a professional footballer. Why can't you kick with both feet? That is your job. It's your job. No, it's amazing. It's amazing to me that a professional footballer can't do that. And massive respect to Perisic that he can take. I've watched him. The reason I asked that, in an early game in the season, I saw him take a corner from the right and a corner from the left, and he put in swingers for both of them. I thought, hang on, which is this guy's weak foot? He doesn't seem to have one, which is fantastic. But yeah, I would love to see Perisic take a free kick, actually, Chris, to be honest with you, because that one Sonny was on today, straight into the wall. You see him doing it in training. They put the videos up and everything, and they're scoring from all angles and straight into the wall. But yeah, Perisic, I think, dead ball, right foot, left foot. Perhaps he could score with both. Who knows if he's given a chance.
Emma, let's come to you. So it was 2-2 at that point. In the 77th minute, Dyer crossed to Heung-min Son. Goalkeeper made a good save. 4 minutes later, Spurs had the free kick, as Craig mentioned there. Heung-min Son hitting it into the wall. Højbjerg had a chance, which went over the bar in the 84th minute. And then Bryan Hill come on for Ryan Sessegnon. Nice to see Bryan Hill get some Premier League minutes. Would you have liked to see him get some more, particularly after the performances in the Champions League?
Absolutely. Yeah, I talk about the fact that they don't start off with a sense of urgency. Brian Hill gets on the pitch and he's just running all over the place. You know, sometimes you don't even know where he's going, but it's effort, and effort can be contagious. And I think you see a difference in the entire squad when he gets on the pitch, because there's just so much effort that he gives, and I think it just makes stuff happen. You know, sometimes even if he makes a mistake, he's making it, playing as hard as he possibly can, and I can deal with that. I think most coaches can deal with guys making mistakes as long as the effort is there. So whenever he comes on, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be some action around him somewhere, and I think he does deserve a look. I know they wanted to, send him on loan, and that didn't work out, and he's not really getting as many minutes as I think Tottenham would like him to get. And Eddie is right. Effort and energy is contagious, and I think Tottenham needs more of that, and you find that with a guy like Hill.
Melvin, would you have expected Brian Hill to start the game today? Would you like to see him get more minutes?
I would have liked to see him start, to be honest. I think he could have played the 5-2 or whatever formation he used to do before. 5, or is it 3-4-3? The 3-4-3 with Hill replacing Kulusevski. I think I've been waiting to see that formation with Hill. I think he's fast. His decision making is very good. His passing is very good. He can cross really, really well. He's maybe not as skinny as last season. Maybe he's put on a little bit of weight. I think he has a bit to go to become a proper, strong Premier League player. He's been compared to Bernardo Silva this week by Conte, which is, it's no joke. I mean, he's very skillful with the ball, and his dribbling is excellent. It's something that we've lacked for a while. Lucas Moura can do it sometimes, but he doesn't do it as often and consistent as we like him to do. And maybe Brian Hill could be that player eventually. I don't know. Maybe this season he can do it, unless he's sent out on loan. But he's a prospect, and for his age, he's a very good player for his age. I mean, he's still, what is he, 18, 19? He's not very old, is he? No. So for his age, he's doing quite well. And I would have liked to see him play, but it's like I said before, Conte rather trusts Lucas with his experience, and even if he's not 100% match fit, I think he'd rather have Lucas than Brian Hill at this point.
Craig, let's come to you. Now, quite an instant in the 88th minute, Lucas Moura had an argument with the ball boy, not giving the ball to Lucas Moura fast enough or at all. Because one thing I noticed being in the away end today, every single time, in that second half, throughout the whole of the second half, whenever a Spurs player wanted the ball boy just sat there. It didn't matter where it was, the whole of the area. Whenever one of our players wanted the ball, they were not given the ball, and they just sat there, didn't want to give it at all. It frustrated Lucas Moura. He got booed after that from all of the home fans. What did you make of that incident?
Oh, look, it is what it is, isn't it? If our ball boys did that, the crowd would have been cheering them. And these ball boys are fans of Bournemouth. They're not going to rush, even though that's their job, essentially. They're not going to be in any rush to give our players the ball back. But I get it why Lucas lost it a bit. I mean, it was a storm in a teacup, really. I mean, you didn't even get booked for it, did he? I mean, it wasn't that bad. But it's all part of the game as far as I'm concerned. What about our ball boy that Mourinho invited to dinner with the team that was quick off his feet to throw the ball to one of our players to get the throw-in that led to the goal? He wouldn't have been doing that if it was the other way around. So, it's part of the game. It is part of the game. So I haven't got a problem with that. And the fact that we won, I couldn't really care less. I probably would have had a feeling on it if we lost. But, it is what it is.
Well, in the 89th minute, Lenglet had a long-range effort that went over the bar. And then the fourth official put up the board, 5 minutes. And I actually said to my boy Harry at the game today, I said, we are going to do this. We are going to get a goal and we are going to get the 3 points and win this. And of course, we went on to win it. Emma, talk us through the 92nd minute, Bentancur's winner. I tell you what, in the away end, the fans went absolutely mad. Yes, we may have been frustrated in today's game, but to get the 3 points today just feels so sweet, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it was just corner after corner after corner. And you're like, okay, at some point, you know, they're going to have to finish one of these off. And then you see the reaction and you're wondering, was it a handball? Like, what's going on? But Bentancur kept playing. And I love that. You know, I think about a couple matches ago when Lloris tried to draw the foul and ultimately it ended up, you know, in a goal. Like, hey, forget that. Just keep playing. You know, just keep going. And Bentancur was able to do that. I let out a hearty yell in my living room, scared my cat. She went running off when the ball went into the back of the goal. It was exciting times, and I just wish we didn't have to go through what we went through in the first half as fans, but sometimes teams have to go through that stuff to improve. And, you know, again, I'm just grateful that there's a lot of things they can learn from this game, but it didn't cost them a single point. They got all three.
Now, Emma, on Tuesday, it will mark Antonio Conte's first-year anniversary as Tottenham Hotspur head coach. Last week, he said, I'm enjoying every moment of my adventure with Tottenham. I discovered a modern club with a fantastic training ground, amazing stadium and passionate fans. At the same time, the demands of our fans, the demand is very high, and I continue to enjoy every day. How would you describe Antonio Conte's first year at the club?
You know, I think it's been great. You know, I started following Spurs right after Jose. You know, right after Jose was named manager. So I liked Jose, hated the results that we got. You know, I liked him as a personality. I thought he was really fun to watch and to watch his press conferences. Nuno, it just didn't work out. You can tell there's a different level of quality. You know, when Conte came in. So I think it's been great. And I hope he sees this through because I think I know he is a world-class manager. You don't have the resume that he has without being just that. And I think this team needs that. They need to be held accountable. And I also think if you want to keep Harry Kane, you have to show them that, you know, a guy like Conte is going to be on the touchline for you and, you know, is going to be able to get this team some trophies because that's what it's all about. So I've enjoyed it. I got a kick out of how upset he was over VAR, you know, in the Champions League because everybody was upset. So you like to see that passion from your manager, knowing that he's leading the guys. So I thought he's done a really good job. Jason said it's early for me. I could still turn back. No, I'm in too deep now with Tottenham. I'm all the way in now. I won't be going anywhere.
Emma, do you think Antonio Conte will be backed in the upcoming transfer windows and get exactly what he wants to take this club forward? Even more?
Yeah, he better be. I mean, why would you have a manager like Conte if you weren't going to give him the players that he needs to win? Because then you're just wasting everybody's time and money. You know, if you want to be a training ground for the bigger clubs, then you don't sign that type of manager. But if you want to be a team that's going to be in the talks and be right there for the league and all the different trophies, then you're going to have to support your manager and you're going to have to support it with dollars. And, you know, I saw on Twitter that it looks like Google might ultimately get the naming rights for Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's more revenue and money that you could put in the team and spend on players. And that's what they should be doing. If they don't, then fans have every right to be furious because I don't see money as an issue at all. And I think there's revenue streams coming in to help them support Conte in the way he deserves to be supported.
Melvin, how would you describe Antonio Conte's first year at the club?
A lot better than Nuno's.
That's not hard.
Yeah, I love all Spurs managers. I think every single manager we have, I support them and back them fully. But I think Conte is probably the best manager I've ever seen at Spurs. Pochettino comes extremely close to Conte on what what he managed to achieve with the players and the infrastructure that we had at the time. But I think with Conte now, we're starting to get to another level. Like obviously, like Emmett said, now we have the stadium and the training ground, and all of these things are like pointing to one direction, and hopefully is winning. You know, these revenue streams, and sadly, football is all about money. And when you work with a chairman like Daniel Levy, and he's been the way he is for so long, and now Conte comes in, it's like Levy will spend money. He does spend money, but he will spend money when he feels that it's the best option that he can get. And I think Conte is the best option, and he has to be like all in with all his money and all his chips. He has to be all in with Conte, along with, you know, Fabio Paratici. I think we keep he's working in the background, and sometimes I feel that we forget all the work he's doing behind the scenes. And I think we won't get the full effect of these things until 2, 3, potentially 4 years down the line. Hopefully, we still have, you know, Conte as a long-term manager. We still have, you know, Kane signed on to another deal, and I feel that we'll feel the full force of them as a team further down the year. I still feel we're early into the rebuild, or we're not the finished article yet. We're nowhere near it. I think the quality was so low when Conte came in. I remember under Nuno we couldn't get one shot on target. I mean, the level was that poor. We used to have these chats with us three and Gary that were so negative and so bad, and we used to fight with each other and argue and point fingers of what's going on, and I feel these talks are so much more positive and fun to listen to nowadays, because and sometimes I remember the bad times and think, listen, we're in a much better situation we were a year ago, and we're now starting to really push on. I think Chris used to have this acronym of like pods or something like that. You wanted to see like direction for the club, and we see these things now. I feel with Conte we see these things. There's a game plan, and there's things going on, but the quality on the pitch is still lacking. And we'll see the best out of Conte, and we'll see a very happy Conte when he gets more players in. I feel he will get backed. Will he get backed, you know, like Chelsea do, and they spent 300, 400 million? Probably not. But he will get back to Tottenham's probably best ability, and we'll probably start to see, you know, mega money going out. Like we said before, you know, we've all seen these Guns N' Roses and the boxing matches. There's another one in Christmas, and all of these revenue streams coming in will translate probably to big money signings. And if Google come in as well, it's probably a massive deal that will happen, and will be a big financial monkey off the club's back. And yes, people will say, oh, Levy, he's going to be earning so much money from this. But listen, if he did this, he created this massive stadium that put us on a massive map. When people talk about the best stadium in the world, they always talk about our stadium. My friends who don't support Spurs, they all ask me for tickets. They all want to go to the game. I want to go see this stadium. It's the best stadium in the world. Every single player and Conte mentions the stadium, either when they sign or when they do interviews. They all mention our stadium. They say, listen, this is the best place in the Premier League to play. Simple as that. And it's a shame what happened in the Champions League game, because I thought that was going to be like a massive memory for the guys that were there, scoring, you know, a last minute winner for Conte. It was amazing. The scenes were amazing. And I've never seen anything so, it was beautiful with the tifo, with the flags, everything. It was like all these things are coming together, and that's what we needed, that moment. And I think we'll have more moments like this season under Conte. We'll have more last-minute winners like we did today. We nearly had 2 last-minute winners in a row, which shows Conte's determination and his fight, and that, you know, Italian character that he has, that he must win. You know, he must win. You must win. And you saw his celebrations, the way he grabbed Bentancur and the way he grabbed Højbjerg, and that sort of thing that he does. It translates. It's like it motivates you. You want to play for this guy. You want to fight for him. You don't get that from Nuno. You know what I mean? You don't get that same reaction from Nuno. Like if I was a player,
we don't even mention Nuno on this channel anymore, Melvin.
No, but you have to compare. You have to compare where we were a year ago to where we are now. Because
you're very right.
Because on Twitter it seems like, I don't know. It just seems like we're awful right now. Like it's so doom and gloom on Twitter that I've been turning it off, and people so negative, wanting Conte out. And you need to look at the full picture. You cannot look at you know, we qualified for the Champions League last season, but we're making steps in the right direction. Sometimes you're gonna hit a stumbling block. You know, if it would have been, it's really unrealistic to think we're gonna win the league this season. For example, some people thought we're gonna win the league. These things take time. It's not that simple. If it was that simple, you know, it'd be like Football Manager, which it's just a game. It's not Football Manager. It's real football is very, very difficult and very complex. And I feel that Conte, we're so lucky to have him. I'm a massive fan of his. So are you, Chris. Everyone just loves the guy, and the players love the guy. And I've never been so connected to a manager since Pochettino. And for the last 2 years, I think we didn't feel that with Jose, we didn't feel that with Nuno, and I feel we have, you know, Pochettino 2.0. I feel like we have a better version of Pochettino, and because now we have all of the puzzle, all of the pieces, and we just have to put them together.
Can I just say, Melvin, I said this on the last show as well. Me personally, I don't know anybody who wants Antonio Conte out of the club. You read it on Twitter, you see it on Twitter, but I don't know any fans that go to games wanting Antonio Conte out. I posted a YouTube video just before we went live of him hugging Heung-min Son at the end of today's game. A wonderful moment, and he is so connected with these players as he is the fans. And it's so nice as well that the last couple of games, Antonio Conte's name was not sung by the Spurs fans. It was today. After today's victory, winning 3-2 at Bournemouth, Antonio was sung by the Tottenham Hotspur fans again, which was great to see. And I completely agree with you. This last 12 months under Antonio Conte, he has transformed the club. He has taken the club back in the right direction. I believe that we will go places and be successful, win trophies, if this manager is backed in the right way in the transfer windows. And, you know, as Antonio Conte has said many, many times, he needs patience, he needs time, and he needs money. And I believe if he gets all three, he will be very successful. And then all of us Spurs fans will be smiling again. Craig, your thoughts on Antonio Conte's year at Spurs so far?
Well, look, I think Melvin and yourself there have said everything that I could say. But, you know, when Conte came in, we were here. I know you can't see any lower, but I'd put it lower if I could. And he's taken us up here. You know, we're eating at the top table again within well, less than a year, wasn't it? You know, he got us back into that Champions League. 2 massive signings in the January window that have proved to be, in my opinion, 2 of the best signings in the last 3 or 4 years. I'm sure there'll be most Spurs fans would agree with that as well. The only thing I'll say about Conte is you look what he's done in a year. Look at the improvements he's done in a year, and imagine, as Chris said, what he can do if he's backed, if he's got the money, and he's happy. Where can he take us to in the next year? And we need stability in the club. We've had a few managers come and go over the last few years. That is not how you win stuff and how you take a club forward. Don't get me wrong, I actually, looking back on Jose, he was box office. I was never a massive fan of his, but I must admit I watched every single press conference of his. I thought he was a great character. The one that sticks in my memory about Jose was when Eric Dyer rushed off the pitch for a call of nature, and there was that shot of the camera inside and Jose walking down the tunnel like, what the hell are you doing? That really, really did make me laugh. And there was moments with Jose that really did tickle me, and I thought, he was such a character. Obviously didn't work, and then we don't talk about the Portuguese guy with the beard. That was just a failure, wasn't it? But now we've got this manager. We've got to back him. We've got to have patience. I do know a few people that don't like Conte, don't like his tactics, and don't want him as their manager, I must admit, but they are in the minority. I mean, a friend of mine messaged me before the game saying he's kind of he doesn't like this style of football. He hasn't, he's still all in for Conte. He just doesn't like the style of football. And what I would say about that is, as I've said millions of times, I've said it on here twice, 3 times already, it's the wing backs. He's proved during his career that this wing back system does work, and it's deadly when it works, when you've got the right personnel. We haven't got the right personnel at the moment, and we all need a bit of patience. When we get the right personnel, give Conte all the tools he needs to get the job done, and I think you will see a different Tottenham Hotspur. You will see us challenging for things, and I know it's frustrating. Today's day and age, the internet, we all want instant. Everything's got to be instant. Yeah. I'm probably older than all 3 of you, and possibly most of you watching this stream. Even though I am under 50, I probably look older, but I am under 50. Just, in the 80s, early 90s, before the invention of the internet, when the transfer window wasn't a window, you could buy and change players whenever you wanted to. Things were different, and kind of fans had a bit more patience with everything. We don't have that now, and we've got to have a bit of patience with the club. As Emmett said, this Google thing, if that goes through, that's going to be massive. It's obviously a worldwide brand. The stadium getting the NFL games, which I'm sure, Emmett will probably be able to comment on this more than me. In fact, if you have got a second, Emmett, it'd be lovely to know how the American people think about seeing the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the TV, and what they think of it, and the NFL, and what that brings to the NFL, and how they feel about all that. The concerts and everything. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's all revenue stream coming into the club, and the fights and everything else. Daniel Levy has created this monster that is the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and we all just need to step back sometimes. I think appreciate what we have got, but be patient with it. This is something that's going to be building and building and building. It's a slow burn. We can't expect immediate success, but if we all get behind it and all trust in the process, then better days are to come.
Emma, did you want to come in on the NFL point that Craig made?
Yeah, for sure. People that have gone over there to cover NFL games, all say that the stadium is beautiful, that it's amazing, it's state of the art. There are people that I share little tidbits about the stadium. The fact that the smell of the grass is pumped into the dressing room, like that type of stuff. Americans love it, right? They're like, oh yeah, give me as much of that, as possible. And I've heard such good things, about Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that a lot of people feel like the NFL wants to get a team over there and not just necessarily have the Jaguars, coming over once a year to play in England. And I know they have multiple games now, but that stadium has a lot to do with it, because I think the NFL sees it as a home. And that's, you talk about generating revenue and making a lot of money. Getting in bed with the NFL it will generate a lot of money, and be able to do that. So it's a beautiful place, and it is held in high regard around the world as, one of the best, stadiums in the world.
Yeah, the teams that play or have played in our stadium, would you say there's a lot of American fans flying over specifically to watch the game? I mean, is it that well followed?
Sure. So I could tell you, for instance, there's been a while. It's been a while since the Browns have been over there, and obviously being located in Cleveland, I know a lot about that. When the Browns do go over there, I mean, you're sending not just an entire city of reporters and media, TV, radio, all those people are coming to cover the game. But NFL fans travel. They love their game of American football. So yes, when you go over there, there's a bunch of diehard fans. There's a lot of business partners too. That's the other thing, that the NFL uses this as an opportunity to build more relationships, not just in England, but all around the world. To just go, hey, come on, let's show you what we can do even outside of America. So it does. A lot of people come over there. I'm actually a little more fascinated. How do you guys accept or embrace, American football coming over to England, because it's obviously a different game. It's just called the same name, So I know we love American football here, but is there a market, for American football over there in England?
Well, yeah, definitely.
So how do you feel about American football coming to the UK? Because I think if it was the other way around, for example, if a Premier League match was to be played in the US, I don't think in England they would be happy about it.
Mm-hmm. The only negative I will say is the time difference, especially if it's a team from the West Coast of America. I mean, you're talking about playing at 6 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning. So fans don't like that. I will tell you that fans don't like that. But one of the reasons I think the Premier League is a hit like it is in America, because I know I enjoy waking up on a Saturday morning. I take my son to watch film and lift. Like I said, he plays high school football here. And then I get to watch the Premier League. I get to watch Tottenham and all the other teams play in the morning and start my day. So a lot of fans, they do like, there's an NFL game on, in the morning, and they can watch it to get their game, their day started. So the only negative is the time difference. That's it. Other than that, in America, we love football. Little kids running around at 5 and 6, we'll watch that all day long. So we just like the game that much.
Now, last question for you all. Of course, Antonio Conte said in his press conference that we've got a cup final to play on Tuesday. He's in the Champions League against Marseille in Group D. Tottenham Hotspur are currently top of Group D. We've played 5, we've won 2, we've drawn 2, we've lost 1. We have 8 points. Sporting are in second place, 7 points from 5 matches. Frankfurt are third, 7 points from 5 matches. And Marseille are bottom of the group currently with 6 points from 5 matches. Now, because of our draw against Sporting last Wednesday, we are guaranteed European football. But the question is, will it be in the Champions League last 16, or will it be in the Europa League? Now, Antonio Conte will be sitting in the stands on Tuesday at Marseille because, of course, he got a red card on Wednesday. He said, I don't like this type of experience. I hope it is the last one. Melvin, let's start with you on this. Marseille on Tuesday is a huge game. All Tottenham need is 1 point, and we'll be playing in the last 16 of the Champions League. How do you see this game going? Because personally, for me, I always thought it was going to be a difficult game, Marseille away. Of course, it is the last game of the group. You mentioned it earlier. I had hoped that it would have been wrapped up by this point in order for Antonio Conte to then put out a number of players that don't get a lot of game time. But now we've got to go strong. It is going to be a very difficult game Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Winning away in any European stadium is very difficult. They still have a chance to go through, so they're going to be fighting to win. And all we need is a draw, but we don't have to go. We can't go with that mentality and saying, oh, we only need a draw. We have to go there fully committed to get the victory, being and playing, how we played earlier this season, being compact, counter-attacking, and being solid, being very hard to break down, not allowing them to get lots of space, that sort of thing. It's going to be a nervous game, and I don't know if you're going to ask me for a prediction.
Yeah, go for it. Give me a prediction.
I can't see us losing, but I can't see us winning either. I think we'll draw, which I'll take it, because if we had the full team with Kulusevski and Richie, I think we would have won. But I think we're still lacking that little bit of spark, if you know what I mean. So I'll say 1-1.
Craig, what do you think? Do you think Antonio Conte will make a number? Well, he's obviously going to make a number of changes. Do you see us going to France and winning?
Do you know what? If you'd asked me that after that first half today, I was literally, because I knew you was going to ask me this question, I was going to buck the trend that I don't think I've ever done on this channel and said, I think we're going to lose. I'm really sorry, but I think we're going to lose. Having come back and won that today, and not purely because it's Bournemouth and blah, blah, blah. I just think that will galvanise the players. They'll realise they can do this. It will give them a bit of confidence boost. However, I think it's going to be a very tough game, as Melvin said, and I'm absolutely in agreement with Melvin. I think it's going to be 1-1. We have lost the players. You've only got to look at our results since we lost Romero, Richarlison, and Kulusevski. Those two dodgy games in the Premier League. It kind of shows the weaknesses, doesn't it? Which we all know that we are players light, and the players coming in just aren't quite at that standard. So, I mean, let's hope. I think Kulusevski was actually on the pitch doing runs on the pitch today, so you never know. Let's hope that he's actually going to be ready for Tuesday. I've got a sneaky feeling he might be ready for Tuesday. Whether we're ready to start, I don't know. But for me, if he's fit enough, you throw him on for an hour, let him do his stuff, and see where we go. But 1-1. I think it's going to be a bit of biting nails as well, I think.
You're absolutely right, Craig. Kulusevski was on the pitch today with a football, and a fan asked Richarlison, because he also travelled here as well. Fan after the game asked Richarlison, when are you back? He said, not long. So hopefully, fingers crossed, them two will be back very, very soon. Craig, what score prediction are you going with?
Yeah, 1-1, Chris, I think. And it was great, just very quickly, it was great to see. I saw the video you posted earlier about the players arriving. Lucas Moura and Richarlison were two of the only players that actually stopped to sign people. So whether that's a Brazilian thing, I think, but it was great to see. It does say something about the character of the player. Richarlison always comes across as this player that's miserable and blah, blah, blah. But I think it was Rob Guest said that, once he's at your club, you will love him. And he certainly won me over. Seems like a really nice fella.
Emmett, lastly, how do you see this one going? Are you confident? Are you nervous?
Oh, I mean, I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm nervous, of course. And I think we all know exactly how it's going to go. You guys have been supporters longer than I have. Spurs are going to trail 1-0 late into the second half. They're going to get a score, probably 89th, 90th minute to equalize it, and they'll punch their ticket, to the next round of the Champions League. It's never easy. It's nerve-wracking. The problem is, I think the game is going to be during my radio show in Cleveland. And it is very hard to host a radio show while you're staring, at the TV and talking to people and, just hanging on the edge of every pass of the ball and, and every shot in every corner. So I expect it to be close. I'll be extremely distracted at work, and it'll just be another Spurs match like we're used to seeing here.
So what score prediction are you going with?
1-1.
You're all going 1-1. I tell you what, I'm going to finish this podcast on a positive. I'm going to say that Spurs are going to go to Marseille and get the 3 points and win. And we stay top of the Group D, and we are playing Champions League football again, which will be absolutely fantastic. Emma, thanks so much for joining me this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure having you back. Please tell everyone where they can find you on social media and your radio show.
Absolutely. You can follow me on all social media platforms, eGoldie80, eGoldie80, on all social media platforms. And if you have the ESPN app on your phone, you can just go to live radio, check me out there, ESPN Cleveland, 3 to 5 Eastern. And then on the weekends on ESPN Radio at a variety of times doing national shows for the big network here. So that's where you can find me. And thanks for inviting me. I love doing this stuff. Big time fan of Spurs and a big fan of yours as well, Chris.
Thank you so much, Emma. Really appreciate your time. And Melvin, thanks so much. And it's lovely having you back when Spurs have won and seeing you smiling.
Yeah, good to be back on. Hopefully we get the result on Tuesday and we continue to have a good season. Fans don't seem to think we're having a good season, but I feel we're having a good season. I'm enjoying watching the team play and yeah, good luck and have a nice trip to the south of France. And hopefully we win.
Thank you, Melvin. Thank you so much. And Craig, thanks as ever. And tell everyone where they can find you and what you're up to at the moment.
You can find me on Twitter if you really want at Dearman9. I'm not doing much at all, really. Just moaning about Spurs and on here. No, let's finish on a positive. Cheering on Spurs getting to the next round of the Champions League, and usually playing a bit of golf as well if I can. So, but always a pleasure to come on here. Always a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Got a win today, so come on, you Spurs.
Well, Melvin, Emma and Craig, thanks so much for your time this evening. It's been a pleasure talking to you, particularly after Tottenham have just won in the Premier League, beaten Bournemouth 3-2. Let's hope that we can win our cup final, as Antonio Conte puts it, on Tuesday evening in Marseille, back in the Champions League. It should be an entertaining night. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. And until the next show, which of course will be on Tuesday, come on, you Spurs.